There is no one size fits all when it comes to camping. For some people, a hammock might be the best option, and maybe you've got a small family going out on weekends, in which case you might want a rooftop tent. And for others who are going out for weeks at a time, some living space can be well worth the upgrade. For a lot of families, that choice comes down to either a truck bed camper or a trailer. And there is no right or wrong answer. There are pros and cons to each, and that's what I'm going to go over in this video, and hopefully help you make your decision, or potentially give you more to consider and make it harder. One of the big deciding factors is probably going to be the size of your family and the amount of space you need. A trailer can be as big or as small as you want and can offer a large living space. Like the one I'm in right now has a nice dinette, a nice floor area that I can stand in, and I can fold this down and make 2 bunks, so one up top and then another kid can sleep down the bottom. Has a queen size mattress for the adults. It even has behind me a shower and a bathroom. Whereas with the truck bed camper, you're pretty much limited to what you can fit in the bed of your truck. I have a family of 3, and I'd say we're probably about at the limit of the living space in the Alu cab. If we're hunkering down there in bad weather, then it can get a little tight with the 2 adults and our 2-year-old that just wants to play on every single surface. With my current setup, we're also pretty much at sleeping capacity. Got my wife and I at the top, and then my son down at the bottom. You could potentially sleep 4 people in there with 2 in the bottom without the cabinets or with a sleeping platform. Or if you went with something like the family camper, you could probably sleep 5 people up top, but then living space is going to be really tight. If you're a family of 5 or a smaller family that just needs a little more space to deal with the kids on long trips, then a trailer is probably for you. Trailers like this Icon E2 have a queen size bed at the back and then up to 2 bunks at the front, so you can sleep up to 4 people in here comfortably and still have living space. And other trailers like the Expedition Voyager here have the option of adding a rooftop tent to the top of it, so you get the living space at the bottom where you can sleep 2, maybe 3 people at a squeeze, plus the additional space of 2, again maybe 3 people at a squeeze up top in the rooftop tent in a relatively compact package. In the back of my truck bed camper, I've got tons of storage, so I've got all these drawer systems and cabinets, and that's plenty for 3 of us for weeks on the road, so there's room for all of our clothes, all of our food, all of our equipment. But again, I think if we had a larger family, we'd start running out of space pretty quickly and eating into the living room. You also generally have more storage with trailers. A lot of them have tongue box storage, or like this one on the Icon E2, you have basically the entire underside of the bed is storage. A lot of them have drawer systems built in, so you can store things like clothes or food inside. And a lot of them also feature some form of pass-through, so you can get to some of the external storage from the inside. For example, on this one, you can actually lift the entire bed, and it gives you access to this huge box under here. And while we're talking about storage, let's talk about payload, because that's another huge win for the trailer. Putting a truck bed camper onto your vehicle immediately eats into a huge chunk of your available payload. For example, the Alu cab on my Tundra takes away about 1/3 of my available payload capacity, which leaves me very little left for luggage and people and water and fuel and so on. On smaller vehicles like a Tacoma or a Gladiator, that's even worse because you have even less available payload. So what a lot of people end up doing is they either have to buy a truck for their truck bed camper, or they have to upgrade their truck to a bigger truck to put that truck bed camper on. And that's an additional expense, as well as a larger vehicle that may be more difficult on the trails. The nice thing about trailers is you can find a trailer that will work with pretty much any vehicle out there. Of course, the off-road trailers do tend to be a little bit heavier just because they're better made, using thicker and stronger materials. But something like the AOR Sierra that we have here is just over 2,000 pounds. The Patriot camper, as another example, the X3 here is just over 2,500 pounds, and both of these can be easily towed by pretty much any off-road vehicle. So things like the Bronco, the 4Runner, Jeep Wranglers, they're gonna have no problems at all towing either of these. Of course, a trailer will take away from some of your usable payload with its tongue weight, but it's not gonna be nearly as much as if you put an entire truck bed camper into the bed of your truck. And of course, you still have to load your truck bed camper up with water, equipment, clothing, everything you want to take on a trip. Whereas with a trailer, with some careful loading, you can put all of that stuff in the trailer and still not use up much or any of the payload from your vehicle. A trailer like this one, the Fusion, has a payload of 1,600 pounds. It's actually more than the payload of my truck. Of course, there are downsides to trailers as well. With a truck bed camper, you're self-contained in one vehicle, whereas with a trailer, you're pulling something behind you, and that can make it a lot more difficult to back up or turn around, especially on tight trails or shelf roads. Well, this is a bit of a tight squeeze. I've got a fallen tree on my left, and then some more trees on the inside of the corner. And that's where having a trailer can be a little more difficult, because I've got to get around that tree on the inside of the corner. So I get as close to this fallen tree as I can. Try crunching a bunch of it with my bumper. I should have enough room. Looks like I am just clear. All right, we made it through, but that was a challenge. That is the reason why I built my Tundra out the way I did, with the alu cab on the back, because I wanted to be able to explore little side trails like this and be able to back out of them easily if necessary. Talking of which, I think I've got a tree blocking the road in front of me. There are also some areas that don't allow trailers on their roads. There are many of them. They're few and far between. Come across one in North Carolina, one in Colorado, and then there's the one I'm at now, which is technically not a trailer ban, but a total max vehicle length of 22 feet in the Grand Canyon National Park. I have also noticed that trailers can slow you down. Now, some of that depends on the trail, and some of it depends on the trailer. The trailer I've got behind me right now, I haven't really changed my driving style at all, but some of the cheaper trailers, especially the ones with like timber and suspension, they tend to bounce around a lot when you're on bumpy trails, forcing you to slow down. If you're putting a lot of planning into your trip, or you're just sticking to the smooth and well-maintained roads, or you're going on long-distance trips to places like the Arctic Circle, then that's not a problem at all. A trailer is great for those. But if you're taking tighter, unmaintained trails where you don't know exactly where you're getting into, or if you want to go out and explore some side roads, then it can be a problem. And that's really the main reason that I went with the truck bed camper for my setup. The counter to that is that trailers make excellent base camps. I could drop my trailer off here and go out and explore the forest. And if I didn't have a truck bed camper, I'd probably have a more capable vehicle. It's more difficult getting under trees with this huge thing on the back of the truck, or I could be out here in a smaller, more nimble SUV. Most truck bed campers also mean losing your truck bed, or at least the utility of a truck bed. So if you use your truck to do truck things and haul stuff in the bed, then a trailer's probably the choice for you. I ended up getting pretty windy last night, but that's one of the nice things about staying in a trailer, is you don't feel it nearly as much. You don't have all that material flapping around, you're not being pushed from side to side nearly as much. I think the newer models of this trailer actually have stabilizer jacks on the back as well to keep it like planted, which would be pretty awesome, especially if you're popping a tent up. When it comes to cost, trailers and truck bed campers can usually be in the same kind of range when you are comparing two models that come with similar equipment. For example, a bare bones trailer may be somewhere around $15,000, and a bare bones truck bed camper might be somewhere around the same kind of range. This trailer behind me is probably similarly equipped to something like a four-wheel camper, and it's about the same price. Some of the more high-end trailers may go up to $70,000, $80,000, but you can also get some high-end truck bed campers that go up to $70,000 and $80,000. Where the price starts to change is where you start to go up to some of the larger luxury trailers, where they can go up to $100,000, $120,000, just because they've got more space to work with, so they can put more stuff in. When calculating the costs, definitely consider any vehicle upgrades that you might need to make. Some vehicles simply cannot comfortably tow a trailer, while other vehicles can't handle a truck bed, especially if you don't have a truck. Another thing to consider with cost is going to be the fuel economy. Some vehicles just absolutely hate towing, and we get like 5-6 miles per gallon. My Tundra doesn't seem to mind it too much. Adding the truck bed camper and the trailer on the back both lost me a few miles per gallon. And lower profile trailers like the Expedition Voyager that I've got behind me, or things like the lifestyle campers Icon, don't seem to affect it too bad because they're more aerodynamic. Finally, you should consider the storage of your vehicles. With my truck bed camper, there's absolutely no way that this is going to fit in my 2-car garage at home, but if I took it off, I could fit the Tundra and the trailer in there. On the other hand, I live in a neighborhood with an HOA, and HOAs love to have random rules. I'm totally okay parking my truck with a truck bed camper in my driveway, but for some reason, I'm not allowed to park a trailer. Not only can you unhook a trailer when you get to camp, you also unhook it when you get home. I just drop the trailer off right here, and I'm done with the trailer. I could leave everything in it if I wanted, whereas my truck bed camper is stuck to the back of my vehicle year-round, whether I'm driving to work, to go get groceries, all that. And it's a lot of extra stuff to carry around with you, and it puts it at risk of theft. If you are interested in a trailer, I'm actually going to be working at a bunch of the shows this summer for X-Grid campers, so come say hi, see me there. You'll probably also see a few of them on my channel because I've got to tow them from the shop here in Vegas to various shows around the country. I'm not getting rid of my truck bed camper, my Alucab setup, because I love it and it's fantastic. But since I'm going to be out with these trailers anyway at various places, I might as well put them to use and might as well make a trip video out of it rather than just drive there and drive straight back again. Finally, you could also just come visit one of the showrooms like the one here in Las Vegas or the one in Knoxville. But if you do that, make sure you tell them that I sent you. Thanks for watching.